Can I tell you the nerdiest thing like that has ever happened to me that I've ever done? The nerdiest, most embarrassing thing that I've ever done.
So did those guys really name their app after a meme? Huh? Buckle up, fellow kids. It's time for FounderQuest.
Sure, as long as this isn't like reciprocal.
Oh no, it's not reciprocal. It just reminded me of that because when I was like in junior high, maybe like I was a super big computer nerd. It was like the 90s, the mid 90s. So that wasn't cool back then. It wasn't seen as some sort of path to like fame or riches or anything. Mm-hmm. There was this song was like really popular. I think it was by NXS and it was called More Than Words. And it's like, I remember thinking, and it's like really sweet, like love song. It's like more than words is all like, I don't know, something about like, my love can't be expressed by words. Uh-huh. And I was like, this is how I feel about my computer.
Nice.
What should we start with? Like,
we start with the most boring part of the week. And
really?
Yes. That was the most of my week, which was writing policies.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You seemed a little bit low energy too, so I thought maybe I was like, that makes sense now.
It's funny because the most boring part of my week was reading Ben's policies. Oh,
sick burn!
Ouch! So sorry.
Oh my gosh! So what are these policies, and why are you spending so much? Why are you like losing so much of your life force? Working on them.
So we're working on SOC 2 compliance because we have customers who would like to get our SOC 2 report and we don't currently have one. And we'd like to have one because all the cool kids have one. So the idea being that a SOC 2 audit, gives you the stamp of approval that you're running your business in a way that's, secure and does things that big boy businesses do, I guess. A lot of part of the compliance is like you have to define how you run your business through policies. And then the auditor comes and checks that, make sure you're actually running your business like you say you are. So, we have a lot of things that we do at Honeybadger just because that's the way we've always done them. That's our MO. But this is actually like documenting those processes. Like, how do we select a vendor? And we actually do care that our vendors have security policies and we follow up on that. And so all these policies that I'm writing and getting done basically just put into words exactly how we run our business.
Yeah. And we're mostly doing this so we can work with customers that require this, right? But I think we've been finding that it has been a helpful process to actually like go through and document these things just for the sake of having it. Because it kind of makes us think about how we do things. And
it's a good feeling. It's a good corporate hygiene. And it's nice to be able to say, yes, this is what we believe in Honeybadger, and we're putting our signature on the line saying that this is actually what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. I feel like in early years, like it would have been a much more simple policy document. It just would have been like, I do what I want.
Yeah. Just shrug.
Period. Yeah. Whatever.
Sorry, Ben. I didn't mean to say that I was bored out of my mind reading your documents. To be honest, like, I mean, it's not like your first choice in reading, I would imagine, like for anyone, but I think it has been enlightening in any case, like to learn some of these like more, like you said, like these large business practices and terms that we're not typically exposed to. So and if all the cool kids do this and all the cool kids are rich, then we definitely want to be like the cool kids.
Definitely. The thing that's been interesting though, as I've sat back and looked at some of these things and in light of the hiring that we're doing right now, it is useful to have all these things on hand for the new person that shows up. Like, for example, one of the policies this week is the change management policy, which defines how we do software development at Honeybadger. And, we've always said it's a pretty loose process. We're pretty independent and that sort of thing. But we actually do have, some controls in place to make sure that we don't put bad code in production. Mm-hmm. Like we do pull requests and we do require someone else to review big changes. And we do have automated CI/CD, right? And we do have a way to revert changes, right? So all of these little bits of how we do business are now documented. And when a new hire shows up, it'll be easy to point that person at a document and say, here's your 30-second introduction to how we do things at Honeybadger.
Nice. We could probably also like summarize or like copy some of this stuff into like our handbook and, smooth over some of the legalese areas we probably don't want to just send them to all of our compliance documents and be like, okay, your first week is reading our compliance documents from start to finish.
Yeah. And we'd have to quiz them on it to make sure they actually read them right. Because otherwise nobody would really read them.
We could have an 80 question multiple choice quiz on each document.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Well, I mean, there is a policy, a policy that says that everyone has to see these policies and
really
sign off on the handbook and things like that. Yep. Yeah.
Nice. Well, maybe.
Yeah, but also people people are with stuff like that. It's like the terms of service on every software application that I'm sure we've all read in detail.
Well, we could probably summarize it for the handbook and then link to the long version or something like that too. Just so they receive them.
By the way, I'm officially stating that I'm not undermining our policy that all employees have to read the appropriate document.
Yeah.
I'm just being a smart ass.
We'll speed that part up like they do the small print or whatever on radio commercials.
Exactly. Yeah.
I thought a guy did that by himself. I thought that was just a guy who talked really fast.
Oh, is it?
Do you remember that Micro Machines guy?
Oh my God, the Micro Machines guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I don't remember the Micro Machines.
It's before Josh's time, I think, but back in the olden days when they had toy commercials on TV.
Which was 6 years before your days.
There was this toy called Micro Machines, a set of toys. And there are these itty bitty cars and planes.
Yeah, I kind of remember those.
And they had this one particular actor who would read the copy for these ads in a very, very rapid fire fashion. He also did FedEx ads.
Okay.
So
I kind of vaguely remember this.
So I've got a fun fact for y'all is that actually there was a time before toy ads were allowed on TV because basically it was considered exploitative for a long time. So the FCC disallowed advertising to children, I think, of any kind.
So this would have been before we advertised to children, but back when we most of them were cigarette commercials.
Right.
Yeah, basically. So essentially what happened was that Reagan came in and deregulated everything. And as part of that, it's okay, we can now advertise stuff to children.
Nice.
And so that's when all the toy commercials came on board. I'm really ambivalent about this fact. I don't really know how to feel about it, but cartoons then were developed as elaborate, plots to sell toys to children.
I could see that.
So many of my favorite childhood cartoon memories, like He-Man and
G.I. Joe.
Yeah, G.I. Joe and all that were Thundercats. Hello, Thundercats. No, Thundercats ho.
That's right. Exactly.
They were Thundercats, hello.
Hello.
Anybody there?
Voltron.
Yeah, we're an offshoot of
probably Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Companies trying to sell stuff to kids.
Yeah.
So it's that's kind of...
It's still like that today. I mean, only...
Oh, it totally is. I mean,
so.
It's a hellscape out there, Josh.
I still can't get over the fact that they stopped selling kids cigarettes and alcohol and started selling them toys because that just seems messed up. I don't know.
Oh, totally. So, is there anything more about compliance? I'm trying to figure out so out of all this compliance stuff, does that mean that we will be creating new childhood memories for some future generation of children? Is that the moral of the story?
Honeybadger is here for the long term.
Yes, it is. We are here for the long term.
Oh, and if you want to order our Honeybadger action figure, call this number. It's on our website.
Okay, so we should get back on topic. So what else have we done this week that we want to talk about?
This isn't a topic, but Basecamp released their new email, the service to solve email that they've kind of been hinting at over the past several months or whatever.
Upset. You're really mad.
I'm not mad.
You're furious.
I'm kind of... You're trying to, I know what you're trying to do, Starr. You're trying to get you're trying to raise the heat levels on FounderQuest for the ratings.
We've had too much freaking Richard Banner here. I hope I got that name right. We need some more Hulk.
I just can't believe
less Banner, more Hulk.
I can't believe no. So they named their email, their product for email. They named it Hey. Meanwhile, I've been working on a product for email named Heya. Oh, and both have a logo that is a waving hand. Although, to be fair, mine is just an emoji. So they actually had one of their designers go and trace trace it.
That's not agile. Yeah. So I mean, this is just, we've got a venerable history of this. So like our logo for like the first several years of our company was the font on some like lightning bolt icon.
We're extremely lazy at Honeybadger. Yeah. We would never.
When it comes to logos, at least.
I don't know. I tend to be pretty.
I'm sorry, Josh. I'm sorry if that takes the wind out of your sails a little bit.
I'm not. It's fine. I mean, like, it's, maybe, I don't know yet if it's actually going to cause any confusion as far as like two email things being so similar in name. I did email them. They said like email us with a story about email or whatever to get an invite to Hey. And so I did email them, and I promised not to enforce my trademark if they would give me a Hey account. So fingers crossed, but I'm looking forward to joining, because it sounds pretty cool. And we'll see what they did.
Well, I saw on Twitter this morning they had 12,000 people contact them about
so
access.
I had the thought that that might not actually get read.
One Josh.
Yeah.
They only had one.
I know
Josh
that they were just like sitting on the edges of their seats just to see if I would notice the similarity in branding. Yeah. But it is flattering, to be honest, because like we both independently at the same time in history like came up with the same branding for email. Like,
it's got to make you feel good.
It feels good. Like mine is not quite as large in scope. I have a feeling, I'm like, I'm sending email sequences. They are solving the email problem on the internet. So
I don't know.
I've got a little bit of work to do.
Yeah.
Maybe they are avid listeners of FounderQuest, and they heard our podcast about Hey, and they're like, you know what? That's a great idea. Let's do Hey.
You know what? It's the timing. Right. The timing coincides.
Okay, we're pulling the cloak down on this guys. We're putting the velvet curtain back up.
I do have to wonder like how much they shelled out for hey.com, because that is a freaking badass name, awesome. And I'm jealous.
Yeah, that is totally awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a far cry from the early days of their company when there's like basecamphq.com, right?
Yeah, but I mean, really, like, how are people going to know if they're talking about like people might think that they're like purveyors of like hay,
like HAY
cows.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know? It's really, really dumb business sense. Like, I don't know what Jason was thinking.
All those farmers are going to be so confused.
They are. Those poor little fellows.
All the Google conflicts.
All the Google conflicts.
Anyway.
I was going to make a joke about rural people, which is okay because I'm kind of from a rural place, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to be a jerk. So
yeah.
I'll do it in private.
So we did launch a thing this week. We launched our public dashboard.
So what are public dashboards? Can somebody explain that?
I'm just getting there. Ben built public dashboards, so I want Ben to introduce us.
Oh, well, I thought you were going to do it because it was all you. But yeah, we had our friends over at Dev. They got in touch with Josh and they said, "Hey,
this is dev.to."
Yeah, they said we'd love to be able to. We love Honeybadger. Thanks, guys. We love you too. And
customers?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yep.
And wait. You mean the leading like developer like blog platform is
that might the platform that might replace Twitter for developers, which is a sorely needed thing to happen. Uses Honeybadger.
Well, that's a cool little fact, huh?
Right?
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yes, they are super awesome, and only partly because they use Honeybadger.
Yes.
But they love the public sharing ability that we have, where you can, publish a public view of an error that you get, but stripped of person identifiable information. So you don't have to reveal all your secrets to the entire world, but you can share an error if you want to get some, public feedback on maybe, can somebody tell me what this is, or, whatever. And what they asked for was an ability to list all of the public errors that they're share with people. So previous to this, you just had to like pass around a link. But now we have a dashboard where you can go and see all of the errors that Dev has shared with the world. So they can have open source contributors helping them resolve their errors. And I think it's a pretty cool thing.
You know what? They also have a Honeybadger label on their GitHub project. Every error, they also cross-post to their GitHub issues and give it a Honeybadger label, which I think is just awesome because you can go and see all the Honeybadger we'll see all the errors, but then see how they link to us. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love the idea that like there's this whole sort of community out there working on this project, this platform, and like we are providing sort of a, very useful service to them and sort of bringing people together, because I always hope that that's what we would do as a company, is like bring people together.
Right. Yeah.
That's why with you guys, I started an error monitoring service.
This was the long-term plan all along.
It's a long game.
Yeah. So Dev published a blog post about this and how they're using it. We'll link that up in the show notes. We have not actually publicly released this feature yet. We will be soon, as soon as we add like a setting to turn it on and off. But the hope is that other open source communities, so like Honeybadger is, it's free for nonprofit, not-for-profit open source. Obviously, any other open source projects that are for-profit can use it as well. But some of these like a lot of these projects don't actually host their applications. They're just like open source software, code that maybe someone else hosts. But some do. So Dev is an example of one that does. rubygems.org is another that uses us. Also runs the rubygems.org servers, which is why they use us. So I'm hoping that there's, some more of these types of projects, the open source out there that does host things can get some use out of this, where they can, share the dashboard with their community, and it'll give them another place to involve people, and they can fix errors together. Can I tell you a cool story about Ben, though?
No. You should ask Ben that,
no.
I guess.
Just kidding. Yes.
So when
we'll just leave that.
Molly over at Dev, she emailed me about, like, she came up with the idea basically for the dashboard. Thanks, Molly. And
Thanks, Molly.
She emailed me. I forget. I think it was like in January or something, because it was like before we had our like all teams or all hands meeting with everyone. I was like, I love that idea. Like, I really like, we're going to talk about that. And so we talked about it at the all hands meeting and agreed that that's a cool idea. We should do it this quarter, because that's how we kind of do our quarterly planning. After the meeting, like the week or something after, like I was looking at all my projects that I had to do for the quarter. I'm like, these are like all really, really awesome projects, and I want to do all of them, but I don't think I'm going to be able to like personally do them all. So I put up a few of them. I was like, hey, does anyone like want to help out with some of these so that we can like, get them all done together? And Ben volunteered to do the public dashboard project, which I was like, great, because like that was one of my favorite ones. I wanted to get it done. The next day he deployed it. So it turns out that one was actually like, I was thinking, like, this is going to take me at least a week. Like, I'm going to have to think about this and like, get it all planned out and stuff. And Ben just like, busts it out and throws it on a branch, and then it's deployed. And I like sent it to the dev crew a couple of days later. So thanks, Ben.
Yeah. Fun times at Honeybadger. I always love it when I can do that.
Yeah. I feel like that's an archetypal Ben story.
It's great. Yeah.
So breadcrumbs.
Did we talk about breadcrumbs before? I feel like we did.
We talked about
when we launched it for Ruby.
When we shipped them as part of the main product.
Yeah. We can kind of just describe what they are, and then what we launched this week was breadcrumbs for JavaScript, client-side JavaScript. So we're bringing breadcrumbs, which we had launched, we had added to the product, and we launched them for Ruby last year, and then we added them to Elixir. And now we're finally getting around to adding them to JavaScript, which is, I feel like this is like their sweet spot, actually. So most people actually like want them or use them for JavaScript. Like, they're extremely useful. So again, what they are like, basically it's like an event log that is recorded. It's like recorded all the time as your users interact with your application. So when it might be your actual application logs, like in a Rails app, events that happen, like active support events and stuff, like we can instrument in the browser. For like the client side, think of things like console logs, clicks, AJAX requests, and all that sort of stuff that happens as your user is interacting with your application. Breadcrumbs basically log those events. And then when an error happens, it sends all those events, like that event log or a chunk of it, with the exception report. So you can see what the user was doing and what happened before the error occurred, which is extremely useful in JavaScript, because JavaScript is a little flaky on like providing context around errors. And especially like in asynchronous callbacks or things where it's like outside of like the user's direct involvement, it can be really difficult to like link that back to a user, like trace it back to a user action and say, this is what caused this error. So this should really help people like reproduce exceptions or errors that happen in their front end React and Vue applications and that sort of stuff.
And also it's going to be super useful because a lot of JavaScript errors are just completely bad.
Yeah.
They don't give you enough information to figure out what exactly happened. Mm-hmm. It's just like something went wrong. It's like, okay, great. Yeah. Thank you, JavaScript.
Starr, it's a script error happened.
It's a script error. Okay.
Come on.
Error. Sorry.
Come on, Starr.
Sorry. I didn't mean to be such a prima donna.
Starr, there was an error in your script. Obviously, there's an error in your script. Just go fix it. Just go fix the error, Starr.
Okay. Yeah, sure. It's only what
it was on line 1. It was on line 1 column
lines of code.
Column like 500,012.
Oh my gosh. Why do they even have errors in JavaScript? Why do they even bother?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, but the thing is, like with breadcrumbs, it's now useful.
Yes, it's true. Like JavaScript errors are terrible. And for a lot of reasons, but the biggest ones are like this issue we're talking about of like not being able to trace them across, like connect them to user actions. And then also the minification that happens when you build your code and compile it to, make it reduce file sizes and make it like optimized for the web. It cuts a lot of your source code out. You don't actually know like where the error is in your source code. Yeah. And you fix that with source maps. Like source maps are the answer to that. But again, it's an extra complicating step that just makes it all really difficult.
And also, even with source maps, it doesn't give, like, it's not 100% solution. Yeah. Like, and with the breadcrumbs, like, even though with breadcrumbs, like I'm thinking of some errors I've troubleshot in the past where there was just no information given to fix it. And breadcrumbs wouldn't have like told me exactly what was happening necessarily right away, but it would have told me what I needed to do to reproduce it, like in a browser. So then I could go and do it myself and see what was happening. Yeah, that's huge.
Yep. So I'm excited. I was actually looking at one of our own front-end errors because we use Honeybadger to monitor Honeybadger. We had an error in our front-end UI on our main Honeybadger app, which is a Rails app that uses like Webpacker and that whole stack. But yeah, I was looking at this error report. I'm like, that is a really good looking JavaScript error report. Like it tells me what the problem is. It tells me exactly where the code is. Like it linked to the source code on GitHub, so I click through, like it's the Honeybadger workflow that we're familiar with for Ruby for JavaScript, which kind of blew my mind, to be honest, because this has been it's been such like a disparity in the past, but I think it's definitely, we're starting to get good.
You reminded me of that Saturday Night Live skit from several years ago, the Handsome Man skit series. Uh-huh. You are a handsome man. And you are a handsome error.
Nice.
Yeah, sometimes like it's the best feeling because like usually when I come across work I did in the past, like sometimes you're like, oh, okay, what was I thinking? But then sometimes like I come across something that I was responsible for and I was just like, this is really good. Yeah. Like, whoa. That's impressive. I didn't know I could do that. And it seems like maybe you had a little bit of a moment like that.
I did. And it felt great because this has been a lot of freaking work. Like I've been grinding on this for like 3 years or more.
Yeah.
Like probably longer. Like, I mean, we've spent like JavaScript, like it's been it's been a large amount of time to get it to this point than like one of the backend languages for all those reasons. Like it takes a lot of work to build these tools that are so necessary to actually get some value out of it. So I'm really happy that we are finally starting to see some of that value.
Yeah. So we're about to like plow into the JavaScript market like a ravenous honey badger.
Maybe. In any case, like it's, for our Rails, like for modern Rails development, it's really nice too, because, if you do Rails new today, like you get a Webpack pipeline. You can basically just plug in our Honeybadger Webpack NPM package and whatever. They use Yarn, right? Yarn install. So yeah, and that gives you automatic source maps. if you ever try to get source maps in the old asset pipeline, like with sprockets, you probably pulled all your hair out. I know I did. So this is a big deal. Like being able to just like Rails new and get source maps for your JavaScript. I think you can even like test your JavaScript in Rails now. So I'll stop now, but I don't want to. So I don't want to rail too hard.
You want to rail too hard against sprockets? Oh man, yeah, sprockets just never got the love that it needed.
I liked a lot of I liked parts of it, but yeah, it just I don't know.
I remember hating it when it came out, and then I eventually sort of like came to an easy peace with it.
Yeah.
Until modern JavaScript happened, and suddenly we needed source maps and everything, and it's like, oh, okay, this is
Well, Sprockets just wasn't built for the modern, it wasn't built for like the NPM ecosystem.
Yeah.
It was its main problem, definitely. I think. Like it was built for the ecosystem where you download a jQuery plugin off the internet and put it in a folder, basically. Yeah. But
that'll come back. It all comes back.
Yeah.
I miss those days.
Right? It was simpler in some regards.
Yeah.
Global objects.
Right?
So much goodness.
You just throw it all in a global.
God. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna need some space to process these emotions I'm having. Remembering all that. So can I brag about something?
Yes.
Please.
I just want to brag about my writers, or my authors. So if you've listened to the podcast for any amount of time, you've known that a while ago we started soliciting third-party authors to do stuff for our blog. And that's simply because we really like to put out a certain type of content on our blog, a certain type of content that sort of goes into depth around the issues and sort of, environment surrounding code, not just how to build a to-do app, how to whatever. And our ability to do that has sort of always been limited by just us not having time, or even when I've done it myself, I just run out of stuff that I know about that I can write about convincingly. And so then I have to start learning stuff to write about it. And so it just becomes very shallow very quickly. And so we started bringing on these third party authors. And I just have to say, I am so freaking proud of the work they're doing. They're doing such a great job. We recently started publishing all these articles that have been I've been hoarding them like some sort of dragon because I just hadn't really figured out what to do with it. I don't know. Maybe I was a little bit scared to start publishing them because I didn't want to waste them because they were so good. I didn't want to just sort of throw them out there and have them fail. But we've released 2 of them so far. The first one by Jose and a second one recently by Julie. And they have done so well. They both were placed really highly in Ruby Weekly. They both are getting shared a lot, and
they did well on Reddit.
They did well on Reddit. People are giving them lots of love, and it just makes me so happy to see them so well received because I really think they're doing a great job. So, and we've got sort of more in the works and more authors even who I'm not naming now because it would just take too long, but they're we have so many people doing such great work for us.
I'm really, really excited about all of this. I think it's really cool. And also I could just say it seems to be more fun to promote other people versus always just promoting yourself. I really like the aspect of we can give other people an opportunity to write and have a voice and stuff. And we can kind of just be in the background and try to get people to read it and get it out to our network. I
know personally, this may just be a mental thing of mine, but it is really hard for me to be a hype person for my own content because I just feel like a jerk saying how great I am and stuff, which is true, but I don't have to say it. But other people.
That's why I deleted my Twitter account partially.
Yeah, it just feels really nice to help sort of promote people who I really believe are doing good work and honestly, who are in a lot of cases developers, and they may have the similar feelings about sort of self-promotion that I do. And so maybe I'm helping them get a bigger audience than they would have otherwise. So that just feels really nice.
You should also mention that you're paying them. We're paying them well, which is that's the best part. Because who does that?
Yeah, apparently people don't pay blog authors
Right.
Like we're paying, like somebody posted a tweet. They were like, well, if you're wondering how much technical authors make, like this is how much. And I guess a book they wrote recently came out like from a major publisher, major technical publisher. And it was about a very mainstream topic, I think React or something. And like the royalty check for like 1 quarter was like $800.
Oof.
And like we have been.
Isn't that like our minimum? Like for.
No, we've been paying around $500, okay. But like for an article, like not a full technical book.
Right. And isn't that like the minimum? Like that's like, we don't pay someone less than 500.
That's the minimum. That's the minimum.
That's the floor.
I mean, so far we haven't gone above it, but if like somebody wants to really tackle like a super complex thing and they're just like, it's just going to take me too much time, I would totally like talk to them about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that's great.
So, yeah, I don't know. It feels like I'm doing some good in the world. Do we want to talk about hiring and how that's going?
Yeah, when Josh was talking about breadcrumbs and how much time it took to get there, I was thinking like, oh, yeah, with the hire that we're working on now, that'll be very helpful in getting that kind of stuff done a little faster because, the goal is to have someone who can really own those libraries and bring them to where we want them to be because they're just not. I mean, they're great, but they're not where we want them to be yet. Having someone on board to help with that. And as I've been doing that this week, along with writing compliance. So the more interesting part of stuff I've been doing is talking to job candidates, which has been fantastic. I always love doing that. It's energizing because there's so many awesome people out there who are doing so many awesome things. Talking with them about taking on this responsibility of not only JavaScript, but also, writing some Elixir code and some Go code and whatever else we're supporting, right? But also owning parts of the Rails app. And it's been fun, like talking to developers who are in a variety of situations and talking to them about our process because so many developers are in the conveyor belt software development world. I call it the conveyor belt where, you have some sort of project manager who's writing specs and, the specs show up on your desk. And then you write some code to meet the spec, you ship that code, and then you turn around and there's another set of specs on your desk, right? And it's just like this conveyor belt of things you're taking off the conveyor belt and you're writing code to put back on the conveyor belt and it sucks.
And you might not even
call that like Jira-driven development.
Yeah, I like Jira-driven development,
and you're not even like integrating that code, right? Like in a lot of cases. Like
depending on the size of your company.
If it's really large, like someone else could be stitching it together.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so it's been fun talking to people and helping them understand like we don't work that way at Honeybadger. We own our projects, right? We pick something we want to work on because it's always a question. Like whenever I ask the candidates, like, what questions do you have for me? A question that always comes up is, well, how do you schedule work? How do you pick projects? How do you, what's your roadmap and things like that? And so I always explain that it's really about whatever interests you. Like we have a list of things we want to do.
You know what we do? We kind of treat every project like a side project almost. Like, like you're gonna go like start this thing, you're gonna figure out how to even do it first, because it's all you. And then you're gonna build it, and what you build might be the first version, and if it really becomes like a central piece of Honeybadger, we might rebuild it in the future or enhance it or but we don't like architect for some, massive scale initially. It's like we kind of build everything like we initially built Honeybadger, which was like, let's just build this sort of Rails app and throw it on a dinky server and see what happens.
Except we don't have dinky servers.
Not anymore, but we certainly did.
So this kind of like, all this seems to relate back to the fact that we all sort of started out in life as freelancers. And so we all just kind of were very comfortable with that model where it's like, okay, I'm just assigned this sort of big objective and I'm just going to go away for a while and work on it. I think maybe people don't fully understand that about us sometimes because like when we are talking about being polyglot and knowing these different languages and stuff, like we're not really talking about like, okay, now you're going to be spec'd out to build this little feature in Go. Now you've got to switch to Ruby. Now you've got to like do this other thing over here in JavaScript. It's more like, okay, like here's this objective and it involves some stuff involving JavaScript or whatever. So yeah, you're going to be working in JavaScript for a while. And then when that's done, maybe there'll be some other objective and maybe that involves Ruby. So you get to sort of immerse in that for a while. So it's not like this, like, not like you're constantly switching back, back and forth, like every hour. Well, it's just sort of like a project mentality.
And we're still I think we're figuring a lot of this out, like not only process, but hiring and all of this stuff. But I have a feeling that like people tend to gravitate towards what we like, because that we allow people kind of choose what they like to work on for the most part. Right. So like people kind of like, if you're owning part of the app and you really like that part, which is how you ended up there. Like, we're not gonna like say, oh, now you have to go like learn a different language and like do that now, because that, you know, this fun part is over. Like, I think people gravitate towards what they want to work at, like areas of the company where they're going to make the biggest difference or whatever. So I don't know. This is just kind of a thought that just came to me, but I don't know. Maybe like our job positions morph a little over time too. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes sense to me. We're the Mighty Morphin Honeybadgers.
Right.
So it's been good.
We're like a transformer.
Chats. Like Voltron.
Yeah.
Back to the cartoons. It's always back to the cartoons.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of cartoons, I was as you were talking about how we do things in our process, I was thinking about Dilbert cartoon. I can't remember when it aired, but it was a very short run. There was actually a animated cartoon series for Dilbert.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that when I worked in DC.
And there was this episode, at least one, maybe more than one episode about Nirvana Co. And it was the thing was like, you know, Dilbert's office is terrible. Like everything bad that could happen to you as an engineer happens at Dilbert's office, right? But Nirvana Co. was like the very opposite. Like all the engineers wanted to work there, and because they had this beautiful projects and this awesome process, and everyone is just happy, and then it becomes destroyed as they try to bring in some process that Dilbert's like, you mean you don't do X, Y, or Z? And they're like, we've never heard of that. Let's try that. And he's like, no. And then like the episode ends with Nirvana Co. is completely destroyed.
Like the ideas come in and wreak havoc.
Yeah. So yes, we're trying to copy Nirvana Co. Here at Honeybadger.
We're trying to keep bad ideas out.
Make it an engineer's paradise.
One of the things Ben and I worked on, mostly Ben, the past week or so, was rewriting the job post, because our initial one, we had some feedback from people, and we realized that it was very like factually, like fact-based, like factually oriented, like just these are the things, like here's what we're looking for, like this is what you do. It talked a little bit about like us and our process and stuff from like a standpoint of like, you know, selling this position. I think it came across as like, this is a lot of different responsibilities. Like there's a lot of different things in here. I think the polyglot stuff in there might have been part of that, but we ended up rewriting it to focus a little bit more on like the whole position at Honeybadger, and which kind of fits into like how like our culture and how we work too. Because like you were saying, like a lot of people don't get that part of it unless we explain it. And so we realized like we need to like always be explaining that part of us, because it's so different from what people are used to. So
yeah, like I don't think there was anything wrong with the original post, but I think like if you were coming to that job posting in the same mindset that you would come to like a job posting at Amazon or something, that'd be like, oh crap, this is a lot.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you understand that, you know, we don't really work like that, and you sort of understand the whole context, then it makes a lot more sense and it's a lot more reasonable.
Yeah. I think it's really just a matter of framing. And we made a few other tweaks, I think, to it. Did the original one, did we like we had salary, like the salary number posted in that one too. Mm-hmm.
And the updated listing also, I put in a bit about how they'll be also working on our main app. Like that was completely left out of our original. Like some people thought, oh, I'm just going to be working on the client libraries. That seems kind of boring. But no, I mean, that's not what we're going to be doing 100% with this job. It's going to be working on other projects and the new products that are coming out this year. So
yeah.
Well, and interviews. Well, I mean, Ben's already started the interviews, but like the rest of us are going to get on the action like next week. So I'm super excited about that and talking with people.
That'll be fun.
And see what they have to like bring to the table for the Badger.
See if they're
I'm not going to talk to them like that. Don't worry.
See if they're willing to put on the Badger suit at conferences.
Right. Still got to get someone to put on the Badger suit.
I already think like I think Ben Finley's like still hot on that. Like I think the only thing that's stopping him is us.
Let me ask you guys: is a RailsConf thing like a sure deal at this point?
Yes, It is a sure deal.
Okay, well, we will be having what is it, a lounge?
Yes.
We will be having our own lounge at RailsConf.
Yeah.
Probably with some other great companies that we are going to be working with, some indie companies. And so maybe there'll be a Badger suit there.
Could be.
Well, I would say that if you are an indie company like us and you want to hang out in the Honeybadger Lounge with us, please get in touch. We're doing co-sponsoring. We're allowing the opportunity for other people like us to join with us and having this space at RailsConf. So if you're part of the Rails community, if you're a small indie startup, come talk to us.
Yeah.
We should do another episode like where we talk about this a lot more.
Yeah, we should.
It's so interesting.
Maybe we should do it next week. Yeah, I think the actual title is, I think we're calling this the Honeybadger Indie Lounge. So this is the purpose of it. And we should totally
because
talk
for
about
so long, let me just say this, like, first of all, like, we've made it in life. Like, we're rolling with like the big dogs and whatnot, but like for a long time, we were not quite there yet. And we always felt kind of excluded from places like RailsConf just because they're so expensive to get any sort of sponsorship deal there. And so now that we're sort of able to do that, we are trying to sort of bring in a community of sort of indie creators and sort of help open up that space to people who might not otherwise be able to access it.
It's a perfect description of what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are freaking amazing.
Well said.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah. So are we next week?
Okay. Next week, we'll leave on what is it? A cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be continued.
And if it's not next week, it'll probably be one of these weeks.
Yeah. Should we wrap it up, or do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Let's wrap.
That's a wrap.
Okay. That sounds great. Yeah. So I talked a little bit about our hiring writers. And so if you would like to write for us about, preferably Ruby, it'd be cool to get some Elixir authors. Like, I would like to see some Elixir content and stuff like that. Just go to our website, go to our blog, and you'll see a Write for Us link in the top nav. And if you're interested in the career with us, interested in applying for this job, if it, it might be filled by the time this goes out, but who knows? There's a link in the footer of our website called Jobs or something. And other than that, just go, please, I'm just going to beg for you to go give us positive reviews places, because this is what we do. I don't know. Do we really need positive reviews?
Honeybadger doesn't care, so.
Yeah. I think my own like validation comes from inside of myself. I don't think I really personally need them, but if people want to give them, that's cool.
Yeah. Or, if you want to come write compliance policies for me, feel free.
Is that our next hire?
Yeah, that's
is that the next hire?
If you want to write compliance policies, if you want some fascinating reading material.
You can handle our year-end taxes.
I need somebody to tidy up my office.
All kinds of opportunity at Honeybadger.
Yeah, we're just saving the world one error at a time.
FounderQuest is a weekly podcast by the founders of Honeybadger. Zero instrumentation, 360-degree coverage of errors, outages, and service degradations for your web apps. If you have a web app, you need it. Available at honeybadger.io. Want more from the founders? Go to founderquestpodcast.com. That's one word. You can access our huge back catalog or sign up for our newsletter to get exclusive VIP content. FounderQuest is available on iTunes, Spotify, and other purveyors of fine podcasts. We'll see you next week.